Good evening and welcome to TV-36. I'm Gil Oren of the Summit Football Alumni Association, and we're proud to sponsor this program for the next 12 weeks, Summit Football 94. During the next 12 weeks, the format, other than tonight, will be a review of the prior week's game with Coach Ray McCran of the Hilltoppers, followed by a Hilltopper of the Week, one of the players, a senior, or one of the coaches, alternating. Then we'll have a special each week in the middle of the program with some aspect of the football program, not necessarily football. We have lined up for you the band, the cheerleaders, the Boosters Association, our medical team, Summit Youth Football, our photographer and video crew, scouting, and Powder Puff Football, to name a few. Then Coach McCran will review and preview our upcoming opponent for the upcoming week. In 2 days, it will be Plainfield Cardinals visiting Tatlock Field. And later in the program, we'll talk about Plainfield. Then we'll have a Coach's Corner, Ray's Way, where Ray McCran, our coach, will spend a minute or two on something that's very important to him on a week-by-week basis. Then, although we don't have scoreboard tonight because Summit Athletics has not started yet, we will have a Summit scoreboard, which will have the varsity score, JV, freshman, and our youth football. We hope that you will join us each Thursday from 8 to 8:30 as we explore Summit Football 94. Tonight, since we have not had a regular game yet, we're going to spend the time that we'd normally spend on Hilltopper of the Week and the weekly special on meeting our new head coach at Summit High School, Ray McCran. Ray, welcome to Summit.
Thanks, Gil.
It's a pleasure to have you here tonight. And we'd like to have a little background about Ray McCran. And since family comes first, let's hear a little about the McCran family.
Well, I'm very fortunate to be married to a wonderful woman named Beverly. And we have 3 beautiful children. We've got a daughter, Kim, who's married and lives in Richmond, Virginia. We've got a son, Patrick, who's also married. He's living in Keyport. And we've got a daughter, Amy, who just graduated last year from West Virginia University. And she has her own apartment in Roselle Park.
Now, wasn't your son a pioneer?
Patrick played for Frank Batone in the New Providence football program, yes.
We're not going to hold that against you. You live really right on the border, don't you, between Summit
Well, we live just off Division Avenue. We have a Summit post office, but we pay New Providence taxes.
Now, aren't you leading somebody in the family out? Your dog?
Well, we've got a dog around the house also that's there to protect us.
Ray, where did you go to high school?
I went to high school, at the time it was called Frenchtown High School. It was a small high school south of Phillipsburg, north of Trenton, located right on the Delaware River. Our class was the last class to graduate from the high school. Some of the wrestling people may know the high school now as Delaware Valley Regional High School. They've got an excellent wrestling program out there. And I spent 4 great years in high school, and I came under the influence of some coaches who got me going in a direction, and I'm still in.
You played football and any other sport?
I played football, played basketball, and was on a track team.
Now, I was kidding the other day about what position you played in football. Today, you look a little like a lineman, Ray, but what did you play, what position?
Well, actually, 40 pounds ago, I was a quarterback.
And you play defense too, or?
We played defense, yeah. We were at high school ball has always been, you know, where you just the best played, and I was fortunate enough to play on both offense and defense. Defensively, I was a linebacker.
And where did you go to college, Ray?
Went to Springfield College in Massachusetts. Got out of college in 1963, and have been teaching and coaching ever since.
And you played football in college?
Played football for 4 years at Springfield, and had a great experience.
Now, Ray, you're not new to Summit. I don't know how many people know this, but we'll they'll know it after tonight. This is your second stint at Summit. Tell us a little about your first introduction to Summit High School and Summit football.
Well, the first introduction, I guess, was from the mid-'60s to the early '70s. I spent 5 years here. We were a program that started to come. If you get down in our locker room, there's a couple of Suburban Conference championships that we were a part of, and that was the beginning of that run where they had 5 conference championships in a row.
You're referring to the Wall of Fame?
The Wall of Fame that the Alumni Association has put up in our locker room.
What were your coaching positions under Howie Anderson?
Well, I started as a freshman coach. Started coaching a 9th grade team when the middle school was known as a junior high school. And then I made my way over to the high school, taught in the phys ed department at the high school for a year, and helped Howie with the varsity staff.
And was Summit your first coaching job?
No, I got out of college in 1963, and I spent my first 2 years at South Hunterdon Regional High School in Lambertville, New Jersey. Then we came to Summit for 5 years, and then I left Summit to become the head coach in Wayne, and I was there for 3 years. I spent a year at Bailey Ellard in Madison, and then I spent the last 20 years in Passaic, the last 11 years as the head coach there, and now I've got an asterisk on the resume, made a return back to Summit.
Well, we're certainly happy that you have returned to Summit. Tell us a little about those Passaic teams. Being a little out of the geographic area, we don't know maybe the nitty-gritty of the success, but we know generally that Passaic was very successful during the time that you were coaching there. Tell us a little about some of the team success that you had and enjoyed at Passaic.
Well, we were really very fortunate. We had what I think was the premier program in North Jersey. And the program was the premier program because we had a community that was behind our football program. We had an administration and a board of education that were very, very supportive and gave us the tools that were necessary to have a successful program. And then we were blessed with just tremendous young men who came in and paid a real heavy price and were successful on the football field.
And during the 1980s, how many Group 4 championships were there at Passaic?
Well, we had a pretty good run. In the early 80s, we had 3 in a row, one in '81, another one in '82, and my first year as a head coach there in '83. And then we had a championship in '85, and we had another one in '89.
The odd years.
Well.
And Ray, I know you're also proud of your involvement with the North-South game that's played in June. What is your involvement there, and how long have you been involved with the North-South All-Star game?
Well, I guess that's a time where I get to give something back. Anybody that's involved with the North-South game, it's strictly voluntary. You give your time, and you're there to help kids, specifically some of the better football players in the state of New Jersey. And it's a very enjoyable time for me. I enjoy the meetings in the off season, and I also enjoy I enjoy meeting these great football players that are in our state, and you get to live with them for a week. And I just think it's a tremendous experience, and I really enjoy it.
Sounds like a good time. Now let's talk a little about Summit. How did we get you back to Summit High School?
Well, I would have to say that I can answer that question in 2 words: Howie Anderson. Howie approached me 25 years ago or so. I worked with Howie and developed a professional relationship, but also a friendly relationship. And we've had that relationship over the years. And actually, I came down to a Summit basketball game during the wintertime, and Howie got me aside and asked me if I'd be interested in the position. And we looked into it, and the process took a while before it finally unfolded, and the eventual outcome is that I'm the football coach in Summit.
Well, we're certainly happy you are, and I hope that the community reception here has been a warm one for you, Ray.
Well, it certainly has been. You know, I'm getting to, I guess, a stage in my life, and where some of our players, I had the good fortune to coach their fathers 25, 26, 27 years ago, and now I've got an opportunity to work with their sons, and I guess that's just an indication that I'm getting older.
Are a lot of the Summit players that you coached coming out of the woodwork and writing you letters and calling you and so on?
We've had phone calls, we've had letters, we have daily appearances on our practice field. Yes. Yeah, the reception has been nothing but excellent.
Well, it's quite a network, and I know that everybody that knows you has spoken very highly of you, and we're happy to have you at Summit. Could you just take a minute and go through the staff that you have, the football staff for 1994, so that our viewers will have an idea of the varsity and freshman staff that you'll be working with?
All right, well, one of the things I wanted to try to do when I came in here was to try to maintain the continuity from last year's program. Certainly, last year's team won 11 games. They didn't lose any, and you really can't get much better than that. And they won 11 games because of a bunch of reasons. Some great players, but they also had some great coaches. When the opportunity came, I wanted to purposely try to keep as many of those coaches as I could, and I'm happy with the staff that we have. We've got Jim Dietz, who is going to be working works primarily with our offense. We've got Phil Krug returning from last year's staff. He's our line coach. Brad Paxson is working with the receivers. And our freshman staff, we had one gentleman that left the staff prior to my being hired, but John Kratch is going to be the head coach, and we've replaced Walt Shellcross with a former Hilltopper, Paul Fleming.
As it happens many times, the Hilltoppers come back after their playing days are done to coach.
I have nothing wrong with that.
Now, we've been into the preseason for about 3 weeks, and I think the viewers have probably seen enough of our faces for a little while. Why don't we take a little tape of the Morris Hills scrimmage that happened a couple of weeks ago and give the viewers a little idea of the Summit offense and defense.
Okay.
And maybe you can name some of the players that,
okay.
we can see.
Let's take a look.
As we look at the Summit. We've had 3 scrimmages, I guess. Morris Hills, we're picking it up now, Ray. This is the Morris Hills scrimmage. Of course, the coaches are on the field because it is a scrimmage. Maybe you could just, we have a center, we have the quarterback behind the center. Could you explain that?
Well, obviously, people who watched Summit football last year are used to a direct snap from the center into the backfield. This year, we're bringing the quarterback up under the center, and we're going to take a direct snap. You can see that we're using an I formation. You can see that we have an option attack. Now, we happen to fake the ball to the fullback there, and then we pitch the ball to Torrey Fogg.
Who is the quarterback there, Ray?
The quarterback is Steve Schroeder. The fullback is Kawan Fouché. And that's Kawan running a play up the middle.
And the slot back?
Well, the slot back is Jamie Allen, another name that Hilltopper fans heard quite a bit about last year. We can throw the ball. We think that Steve is an excellent passer. We're going to throw from various formations. Essentially, what we want to do is try to keep the game as simple as possible, but give it to make but we want to make it look difficult with as many formations.
You want to see many more of those, don't you?
We want to see a lot more of those.
Who was that, Torrey Fogg? Right?
That was Torrey Fogg, yes.
And who are some of the big boys up front?
Well, we've got Jared Pariscan back from last year. Tom Nowasick's our center. Carl DeMuth is one of our guards. And we've got a pretty good group of linemen that are working real hard. And of course, their job is to protect the backs. One of the things we've been trying to sell them on is the fact that allow no penetration. Now, that's an option play with the quarterback keeping the ball.
Is that Tyrone Ellis there at tight end?
Tyrone Ellis is our starter at tight end.
And it looks like John Brown now is at the center.
That's correct. You know, it's a whole new thing. Offensively...
there's another, excuse me, Ray, there's another play you'll want to see it quite a few times.
Well, actually, I think you saw that play quite a bit last year.
We did see it right at the end of the Mendham game.
Well, okay. One of the things that I've never pretended to be an innovator. I'm a thief, and if I see something that I like, I'm going to steal it and use it in our program. And I happen to, in viewing the tapes from last year's games, that particular pass pattern was one of the things that stuck out like a sore thumb in my eyes, and we incorporated that right into our program.
Ray, have you elected captains yet?
Yes, we have. The team elected the captains after our second scrimmage with East Brunswick, and I think they've chosen three great young men. Jamie Allen, Carl DeMuth, and Torrey Fogg. Now, those kids have been elected into a leadership capacity by their teammates, and I personally think they made a great selection.
And that's a play we don't want to see.
We don't want to see too many of those kind of plays.
But unfortunately, it does happen occasionally. And there's some juniors that have seemed to be breaking into the starting lineup. Alfie Critelli.
He's very strong. He's one of our defensive ends. You'll see him up there on the right side. He's number 74.
And Jamal Stewart.
Jamal is in our secondary, and then we think we've got a great secondary.
And we don't kick in the scrimmages, but we do have a pretty good kicker in Jeff Lovell, too, don't we?
Jeff Lovell has been handling our extra point, field goal, and kickoffs. And we also have a strong punter with Steve Schroeder.
Looks like a good kicking game. How many scrimmages did we have, Ray?
We had three. This particular scrimmage with Morris Hills, we had a scrimmage with East Brunswick, and then we finished up with our game scrimmage with Seton Hall Prep. Now, one thing you might notice, there are large differences between our offense between this year and last year, but there'll be some great similarities between our defense. We're going to use the 4-4 alignment, similar to the defense that was used last year, although there are some changes, particularly out on the corner, where we've reversed positions. And we've brought the outside linebacker inside and moved the defensive end outside.
Training camp is a tough time with the double sessions. Have the kids all come out of that in good shape and with good spirit?
Well, first of all, training camp is meant to be hard, and it's meant to be tough. And I think that's an area where you create an environment in your football program, and hopefully that environment is tougher than the actual games that the players will be playing in. And along with that, it's a time for teaching. And there's a great amount of teaching that goes on during the preseason, and really that's what coaching is all about, teaching the fundamentals of football.
Ray, we've taken a little look at the offense and defense and the personnel. Maybe we could take a look at the schedule, a quick look at the schedule for this year, and just quickly go through it. It's basically the same as last year, but why don't we run through this quickly, Ray, for the viewers?
Well, essentially, it is the same as last year. As we get down toward the end of the schedule, there is a change. We're going to open up on September 17th, on Saturday the 17th at 1:30 at Tatlock Field, our home opener against Plainfield High School. Those who were around last year certainly know that the game down in Plainfield came right down to the bitter end, and unfortunately Summit pulled it out. But we're anticipating a pretty tough game with Plainfield as our opener. The next week, Scotch Plains comes in for a home game at Tatlock. Once again, a 1:30 kickoff. The next 2 weeks, we're on the road, and we travel to Eastside and Shabazz, two teams in the Newark area. And then we get back. Our fifth week is our youth football day, and that's usually a big day. And our opponent that day is Westfield, and that'll be at Tatlock, and the kickoff there will be at 1:30.
That'll be on TV-3 too, won't it?
Yes, we just got notification today that they want to put our Westfield game as one of the games of the week on TV3. So that'll be a real big day for us, television-wise as well as youth football-wise. Following the Westfield game, we've got 2 away games. On October 22nd, we travel to Cranford. And then the one non-league opponent that we have on our schedule, Hanover Park, and Hanover Park actually replaces Kearney on the schedule, and they move into the October 29th slot, and we'll be playing Hanover Park at Hanover Park. And then our final home game of the season on the regular schedule is on Saturday, November 5th against Rawway, and that game will be at 2 o'clock. That's an SAT Saturday, and the kickoff is moved back a half hour, so that kickoff will be at 2 o'clock. And then, depending on how good we are, we either have a great schedule or we have something where we're going to have an awful lot of time off.
Are you referring to the bye?
Well, we're referring to the bye weekend, and
November 12th?
Yes, and what happens there is we're going to be off on November 12th. The next Saturday is the first playoff Saturday, and if we're good enough, and we certainly have the talent and the type of team where we can qualify for the playoffs, that will be the Saturday before Thanksgiving. Now, if we're not in the playoff picture, then we've finished with our final game of the season on November 24th against Irvington, and that'll be at 10:30 Thanksgiving Day morning.
So if we do make the playoffs, that would work out in our benefit to have a couple of weeks preparation.
It's a tremendous, I think it's a tremendous asset.
Well, I know we're working hard, and let's hope that works out. There's not really too much we can say about the Plainfield, the Cardinals, because we haven't seen them play. But maybe you have a few general comments about
I have a few, yeah, I have, a couple of real general comments. First of all, they're in the middle of a situation similar to the Summit situation in that they have a new head coach, a coach who also coached in their system prior to this year. So you've got 2 guys, actually you've got 2 old guys who are returning to former school districts to coach the football teams.
Can you pronounce his name?
Milt, yes.
They call him Coach T.
And that's fine with me. And I'm certainly not going to attempt to pronounce his last name.
Theo Tadatis.
That sounds good, and I'll leave that with you. But the one thing that I've always felt about the Plainfield situation, even though I've taught and I've coached out of the county, I've lived in this county for quite a few years, and the one thing I've always felt about the Plainfield situation is that they're a sleeping giant. And the thing that we have to be very, very, very careful of is that we don't stir that giant up. They've got a new coach. The last time he was there, he had Plainfield in the playoffs, and then he left to take another position. Now, hopefully that giant still remains sleeping until we play them on the 17th.
Well, that giant was aroused last year, and Summit and Plainfield had quite a game. And as you pointed out, we won right at the end, 32-25, I think it ended up. Here is a shot, a small segment of the Summit Plainfield game from last year, played in the rain at Plainfield. And Summit won this game on the last play of the game. I don't believe we have it on this footage, but it was quite a game, and some people feel we were lucky to pull it out.
Hey, the bottom line is that you pulled it out, and that's really all that matters.
Now this game will be this Saturday at Tatlock, and what time does that start, Ray?
It's a 1:30 kickoff.
All right. Ray, we just have a minute or so left in the program, and I'd like you to address something that's important to you during what we call Ray's Way segment of the program. Is there something that you'd like to share with the viewers that's important to you about football or anything else for that matter?
Well, yes, there is something that I would like to address tonight, and that is our theme for this season. Our theme this season is one. Now, that has absolutely nothing to do with being number one, although I think that if we do certain things at the end of the season, we can become a number one. And what I'm talking about there is a feeling of unity, an atmosphere that we're trying to create with our team where we are a family. And regardless of what happens, the well-being of the family takes precedence over any one individual in the program. And so it's a big one. It's not a small one. And we can't, we don't want to get involved with individual things. The important thing is the family and the success of that family, and it's something that it's a theme that we're following this year. Now, if we do all the things that are necessary, if we're good teachers and we teach football the way it should be taught, and if our kids play, and if we play as a team. All of those things will lead to being a number one at the end of the season. But the important thing is that we are one. And the other thing is that another thing that I've always tried to stress is the fact that none of us are as good as all of us. And essentially what that means is even though there are individuals on that team, it takes 11 players to be successful, and that's what we're working for, to try to be a successful unit, a unit of one.
Ray, I can't think of any coach that can do a better job of leading us toward that goal of being one as a family, and we wish you the best of luck at Summit, and I hope that everybody enjoys the 1994 Summit football season, Summit Football 94, and we invite everybody to be at Tatlock Field 1:30 on Saturday when Summit Hilltoppers will take on the Plainfield Cardinals. Following this show, just this week, there'll be a 1/2-hour special on Summit Football 100 Years on the Hill, which was taped 2 years ago by TV-36. So I hope the viewers will enjoy that and look forward to the game at Tatlock Field Saturday at 1:30. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Ray.
Thanks, Gil.